Hello, everyone. This is the CircuitPython weekly meeting for May 27th, 2025. This is the time of week where we get together to talk about all things CircuitPython. My name is Tim, and I'm sponsored by Adafruit to work on CircuitPython. CircuitPython is a version of Python that's designed to run on tiny computers called microcontrollers. CircuitPython development is primarily sponsored by Adafruit, so if you want to help support Adafruit and CircuitPython, consider purchasing hardware from them at adafruit.com. This meeting gets hosted on the Adafruit Discord server, which you can join at any time by going to adafru.it/discord. The meeting is held weekly in the CircuitPython dev text channel, as well as the CircuitPython voice channel there on Discord. The meeting typically occurs on Mondays at 2 p.m. U.S. Eastern, 11 a.m. U.S. Pacific. Today, obviously, is a Tuesday, and that is to say we do postpone the meeting for U.S. holidays. So yesterday was a U.S. holiday, Memorial Day here in the U.S., so we have bumped the meeting to Tuesday for this week, as we do anytime when there is a major U.S. holiday on a Monday. However, I believe next week, I think we are back to the usual time. However, it occurs to me I haven't double checked, so I'll have to do that at some point. There is a notes doc that accompanies the meeting and recording. If you would like, you can contribute your hug reports and status updates to the notes document even ahead of time. Let me see here. Get back to my place. Here we go. Yep. The final notes document will contain timestamps to go along with the video, so you can use that document to skip around through the video or podcast and find the parts of the meeting that interest you most. The meeting tends to run 30 to 60 minutes, depending on how many people are here for the round-robin sections. After each meeting, we will post a link to the next meeting's notes document in the CircuitPython dev channel on the Discord, and you can check the pinned messages there throughout the week to always find the notes doc for the upcoming meeting. Let's see here. The meeting is held in 5 parts. I'll run through them very briefly because I think we mostly have folks who have been around before, but just to recap, we'll talk about community news, a couple items from the weekly newsletter, which comes out on Mondays. Next up, we will look at the state of CircuitPython, the libraries in Blinka, some stats from around the project, the core repositories, and a couple other stats from surrounding items. Next up, we will get into our round-robin sections, the first one being hug reports, where we will go around the room and folks can have an opportunity to shout out folks who have done cool things or stuff that they appreciate in our community and beyond. After that, our other round-robin status updates. Folks can take a minute, tell us what you've been up to for the last week since the last meeting and what you'll be up to for the next week until the next meeting. And after that is In the Weeds, where we can have more long-form discussions if folks have topics that need some more back and forth, or they want to get input from the larger team, and it's a discussion that could be too long for status updates. So with that, I will find community news here. Pick the first timestamp and tell you about community news. So all these items came from the Python and Microcontrollers newsletter, which goes out on Monday mornings. You can visit adafruitdaily.com to subscribe to that newsletter. And I will tell you a bit more about it after we talk about some of the items from this week. First up, we have a special from Microsoft. They have released some more software projects as open source. Microsoft has open sourced additional software of interest to programmers, including GitHub Copilot chat extension for VS Code, as well as Windows Subsystem for Linux. And there are links here over to Microsoft's website and a couple of those individual projects as well. I know folks who build CircuitPython on Windows sometimes use Windows Subsystem for Linux, so that caught my eye this week. Next up, I will take the next timestamp. We have the PyCon US 2025 videos are now available. The videos of the talks at the recent PyCon US are available on YouTube. Some excellent talks on a variety of Python topics. There is a link here to the YouTube playlist, and I've got that one saved to check out later myself. Next up, MicroPython goes to space. The adventure of getting a customized version of MicroPython running on a custom circuit board to integrate with Pocket Cube satellite and make it into low Earth orbit is documented in this YouTube video. So if you would like to learn all about custom MicroPython hardware and custom builds of MicroPython running on devices that go to space, that is a good one to check out. Next up, we did have a new minor release of CircuitPython 10.0.0 Alpha 6. This one I think maybe got mentioned last week, but I'm not positive, so I grabbed it. It was in this week's newsletter as well, and I included it here. This is a new alpha release for 10.0.0. It contains just a regression fix that was causing a fix for an issue that was causing some errors on ARM processors. So this one was really quick after Alpha 5. If you happen to get Alpha 5, especially if you're using an ARM processor and you're having trouble, you should update to Alpha 6. Next up, and the last one of the news items this week that we will look at here in the meeting. There are, of course, many more in the newsletter itself, but the last one I chose to grab here for the meeting is a video about wiring up a Pico to an LED display. Wiring a Hub 75 LED matrix to a Raspberry Pi Pico, and running CircuitPython with it. And this is a video from Professor Gallagher over on YouTube. You can find a link to the video as well as GitHub for the code and a link to Mastodon where Professor Gallagher shared this. There is also lots of other great content on their YouTube page. So if you like learning about CircuitPython, I encourage you to check out the rest of their videos as well, even if you are not interested in the Hub 75 matrices specifically. So with that, I will tell you a bit more generally about the newsletter. All of these items did come out of the Python for Microcontrollers newsletter. That gets emailed every Monday. You can subscribe at adafruitdaily.com. Thanks, as always, to Anne for putting the newsletter together. If you've got any Python on hardware projects to share, or you find content that you'd like to see included in the newsletter, please consider contributing to the newsletter. You can either email cpnews@adafruit.com with a link. You can post a post with hashtag CircuitPython, or you can tag Anne Engineer on Blue Sky, Mastodon, or X. Or you can open up a PR on GitHub in the CircuitPython weekly newsletter repo. There is a drafts folder in there where you can find all of the files for the newsletter. You can make edits to that, just add new items, and then submit a PR. Let's see here. So yeah, next up, we will get into the state of CircuitPython, the libraries in Blinka. Take a timestamp. And all right, so this is a quantitative overview of the entire project. It gives us a chance to look at the health of the project separate from our status updates. We'll talk about the project overall, and then we'll discuss the core, the libraries, and Blinka. So first up, some overall stats. Let me take a timestamp here. This week overall, across the core and all the libraries, we had 22 pull requests merged by 8 different authors, thanks to a couple of names, which I forgot to highlight before, but are in fact new to me, thanks to Click on Ben, AP0 AFA. I'm not sure if I pronounced that one correct. My apologies if not. Yeah, I think those are the names that do not appear familiar to my eye, so these folks might be newer or less frequent contributors, thanks to them, as well as the other names here who I do recognize as appearing in these lists from week to week more frequently. We had 5 reviewers for those PRs, so thanks to ADCC, Dan, Lady Ada, Neradoc, and myself. Issues-wise, we had 16 issues closed by 8 different people and 8 new issues opened up by 7 people, so we're net down a little bit on issues overall. Next up, none of the core devs are around, so I will take a timestamp and tell you about the core stats as well after I... Let's see here, I'm not used to this section of the doc. Here we go. it doesn't actually say very much anyway. So in that case, I will ad lib a bit and tell you that all of the next set of stats are for the CircuitPython core, which is the C code that drives CircuitPython itself. This is what runs on the microcontroller and interprets the Python code that you save in your CodePy file. In the core repo this week, we had 6 pull requests merged by 4 different authors. We had 3 reviewers. Thanks again to ADCC, Dan, and Neradoc for reviews over in the core this week. There are 18 pull requests currently open, which is pretty comfortably under the sort of soft limit of, is it 25, I think, that can fit on one page. We are on issues-wise, we're looking at 6 issues that were closed this week by 3 different people. Another 5 issues opened up by 4 people, so again, net down 1 there. There are currently 765 open issues. There's a link here in the notes doc if you would like to help tackle some. In terms of active milestones, which we use to track progress and priority for the Adafruit funded developers, in the 10.00 active milestone, we have 18 issues there currently. In 10.0.x, we have 1. 10.x.x, we have 39, and 11.0.0, we have 7. And nicely, pleasantly, you might say, for 9.2.x, the current stable release, we have 0 open issues, which is always good to see. In terms of libraries, I think these are maybe tags on the core issue there. So there are 16 issues that are tagged library over on the core issue. There are 637 that are marked long-term. So these are things that are not going to get priority or focus immediately, especially from the Adafruit funded developers, but we are always more than happy to have other folks who are interested in these items pick them up. So just because something is in an issue in the core and it's marked long-term does not mean that you should avoid picking it up. If you have an interest in it, please feel free. We would love anyone who wants to help work on stuff, whether or not it is kind of the top priority for us. We're more than happy to help out. There are, looks like 29 issues labeled support and 16 for third parties, and there are 3 right now that are not assigned a milestone. So there are a couple to go and sort through, although sometimes that gets done prior to the meeting, but after these notes. So perhaps those have been taken care of already for the day. All right. And with that, I will take the next timestamp, tell you about the CircuitPython libraries. So this next section covers all of the CircuitPython libraries. This is Python level code that you copy to your device, and it typically is either going to be a driver or a helper library that lets you interface with some piece of hardware, or it lets you kind of write your project code at a higher level without worrying about as many of the minute details. So across all of the library repos, and actually I'm still getting used to the way these are listed here now. So let's do a couple high-level stats first. In terms of the count of library repos, we have 361 Adafruit libraries right now in the bundle, and we have 165 community libraries contributed by third parties that are over in the community bundle. So taken together, that gives us 526 libraries across both bundles for CircuitPython. There were 16 pull requests merged this week by 6 different authors. Again, thanks to Click on Ben and AP Zira Afa, as well as Dan, Relic SE, Maker Melissa for submitting PRs to libraries this week. In reviewers, we had 3 reviewers, thanks to Dan, Lady Ada, and myself. Of the pull requests that were merged this week, they were mostly all on the newer side of things. The oldest one was only 6 days, and a handful of the newest ones were all down at 1 day. That leaves us right now with 50 pull requests open across all of the Adafruit bundle libraries. The oldest one of those is getting up there. It is a draft, I believe, that is open, and it is at 1,013 days right now. The newest one, as usual, is just 1 day old. Issues-wise, we had 8 issues closed by 5 people, 3 new issues opened up by 3 people for libraries, and that leaves us right now with 716 issues across all the libraries. There are 3 of those that are labeled Good First Issues, which you could find listed over at circuitpython.org/contributing, which is the website where you should go if you are interested in getting involved in CircuitPython. On that page, again, circuitpython.org/contributing, the first thing that you'll see there is a list of open PRs. These are links to GitHub where someone has proposed a change to one of the libraries, and it is waiting for someone else to come along and review that change, and that someone else could be you if this sounds like something you're interested in. And in that case, you would just click through to GitHub, take a look at the pull request. It allows you to see the changes to the source code, so you can look over the changes for syntax, logic, spelling, anything you happen to know about the particular library in terms of its sort of specific implementation. Leave a comment there on GitHub letting us know that you took a look at it. If you happen to have the hardware for it and you can actually try it out, that's even better. Leave a comment again on GitHub letting us know how it went if you were able to try it out. If you would like to get leveled up to leaving official reviews on GitHub after you have kind of gotten comfortable with the process, we can work with you to make that happen. Or if you would like to start getting your hands dirty contributing some code of your own, you can also start looking through issues instead of PRs. So back on circuitpython.org/contributing along the top, there are a handful of links. If you click over to the issues link, you'll see a similar looking list of links over to GitHub, but these ones represent issues rather than PRs. No one has submitted any code yet. There are no proposed changes. So these are waiting for a person to come along who would like to actually make that proposed change and submit a PR with it. So you can look through that list, find something that is interesting to you or that you've got the hardware for. Click through to GitHub, take a look at what the issue is, whether it's adding a new feature, fixing a bug, adding a new example, or what have you, and then you can submit a PR with the change, whatever it may be. We have a guide for contributing to CircuitPython using Git and GitHub. So if you need help with any part of that process, we can point you to resources for that. We also have folks who are around throughout the week on GitHub who are more than happy to help you get spun up. So if you would like to contribute to CircuitPython, whether it is doing reviews or contributing your own code, submitting PRs, and you're having trouble with any part of the process, whether it's actions, pre-commit, or anything else, please come say hi on Discord. Let us know what you're up to, and we would be more than happy to help you out. We want everyone to be able to contribute no matter what your background is or anything else, really. And so with that, I will jump over to the next section, take a timestamp, and tell you about the Blinka compatibility layer. So the next set of stats here cover the Blinka compatibility layer, which is a project that allows CircuitPython code to run on single board computers like the Raspberry Pi and other similar devices. It was looking like a relatively slow week this week in Blinka. 0 pull requests merged. There are currently 12 pull requests open, and issues-wise, 2 issues were closed this week by 2 different people. No new issues opened up, and that leaves us currently with 154 open issues across Blinka and all of the related repositories. And there are currently 162 devices that support Blinka. All right. With that, I will take the next timestamp. I do need to get a drink, one moment. And I will tell you about the next section, which will be Hug Reports. Hug Reports is a chance to highlight the folks in the CircuitPython community and beyond. I'll start, then we'll go down the list of Hug Reports alphabetically or however they appear in the note stock. If you're text only or missing the meeting, I will read notes for you once we get to you in the list. So I will take a timestamp for me and kick us off. Hug Reports for me this week, thanks to Anecdata, Niradoc, and Dan, all for offering ideas on how to read a very short pulse on an I/O pin that I was working on last week and was finding that digital I/O was not able to actually pick up. Thanks on GitHub to the user Cinderblock Games for submitting improvements in the Adafruit display text library, as well as looking into issues that have been reported in that library and offering help to folks there. Definitely very much appreciate that. And I also have a group hug for the whole community, just because everyone here is awesome. Next up, I will read for Dan. Dan is out for now. So Dan says, hug report to Jepler for submitting PRs even while he's on vacation, and a hug report to Neardoc for several fixes. Next up is, did I get it? No. Next up is David Glauda. Not present, or maybe no microphone, so I will read. David says, a hug report for Neardoc for bootstrapping me with the T-Watch v3, a hug report to Foamy Guy, me, for bootstrapping me with web workflow, hug reports for Anne and Melissa for the Metro RP2350 Learn Guides, and let's see, Gemini 2.5, hug report for Gemini 2.5 Flash for helping me make EVCC visualizations compatible with async IO. Nice. And a group hug for everyone as well, David submits. Jepler is here. What's up, Jeff? Nice to see you. Jeff has no mic, but does send a group hug and says, miss y'all. Very great to hear from you, Jeff. And that is it for hug reports. So I will take the next timestamp here and tell you about status updates. The next of our round robin sections. Status updates is our time to tell folks what we've been up to individually. And again, I'll start, then we'll go through the list of folks as they appear here in the notes doc. When I call on you, you can take a couple of minutes, tell us what you've been up to since the last meeting, and what you'll be getting up to, not since, but until the next meeting. If a discussion becomes too long for status updates, we can always move it down to in the weeds section to discuss further. So I will take the first timestamp here. My status updates for this week. I tested the examples and wrote some Learn Guide pages for the Sparkle Motion Stick, the CircuitPython pages, and a couple of the Arduino ones as well. This was mostly last week I did this. I completed a couple of the issues that popped up during the library rough conversion. These were unrelated to rough, but happened to come up while I was going through the libraries. So those are tidied up now, and the conversion is complete on those libraries as well. And then the next major thing that I worked on was a driver for the OPT 4048. There already was an Arduino driver, and I was working on porting this over to CircuitPython, which was a fun activity. This was kind of the first full driver that I have worked on porting like this, so it was a good experience. I enjoyed working on it. I did, while I was working on this, also make a new version of the web demo that's been shown on a couple of recent videos. My new version, it gets hosted under Adafruit HTTP server, so it runs on the device itself. It gets hosted from the device itself instead of live on the internet, and it uses WebSockets to communicate the data from the sensor instead of Web Serial, which makes it work in Firefox and all the rest of the browsers as well, since it doesn't rely on any special APIs that have limited support. And then the other thing that I did, which was just more for fun over the weekend, I created a really primitive system for transmitting bytes of data by flashing colors on RGB LEDs and then reading the flash with the OPT 4048 sensor. This is not practical, but was a fun exercise in I wonder if I can make it do this, and it turns out that I can. And then this morning, I have been going through and doing some library PR reviews as well. And that's what I have got for this week. So with that, I will take the next timestamp and tell you about Dan H's status updates. Dan says, debugging a sleep problem on the NRF 52840. After deep sleep, HID doesn't work, but still appears to be connected. Interesting. That one's sounds perplexing, certainly. Dan also says a GitHub user offered USB traces that may be relevant to the problem we're having with Chrome OS and SAMD UF2 bootloader. My traces don't show the same issue, though. And then Dan finally says fixed an I2C target problem. Next up is David Glauda, and I will read. David says, ported my EVCC plus MQTT visualization from PyPortal to TWatch 2020 v3, getting Gemini 2.5 Flash to make my code co-execute together with existing async IO code that handles the watch button and IRQ, hitting a limitation in mini MQTT loop that is blocking and does not play well with async IO code. Making sure the same code works on the Memento, same resolution, and also uses Espressif. It is much easier than using web workflow, David says. And next up is adapting the PyPortal 320 by 240 design down to a 240 by 240 screen size. So I got to rework the layout some to fit on the smaller screen of the watch, it sounds like. And then David's other major item this week for status updates is Frankenstein Fruit Jam on the Metro RP2350. Testing the Matrix screensaver and found a breaking API change between 9 and 10.00 Alpha 6. Belated hug report. Thanks to David for reporting that. We did get that fixed in the Learn Guide code, I believe. Soldering a USB-A host connector onto the Metro RP2350, playing the Minesweeper game that is on a Learn Guide to test out the mouse, and ranting on USB pin order on the Adafruit USB hub breakout. And with that, I think, if I recall right, Bob said no mic before. Is that right?
No, I'm here.
Oh, no, you are. Okay, my bad. Go ahead, Bob.
All right. Thank you, Tim. So this week I'm working on RP2350 sleep modes. And at this point, I've got light sleep and dormant sleep working on the part. And it's kind of encouraging. The 2350 is actually a little bit less power hungry than the 2040. The part that's proving to be a bit of a challenge is the Power Manager low power mode. And this is kind of a neat little facility that's in the chip that lets it power almost everything off. But getting it to actually do that is a bit of a trick and in progress. And that's what I've got for this week. Thank you.
Nice. Yeah, thanks, Bob. That sounds pretty cool. Yeah, I had no idea about the that it was lower power than the 2040. That's really cool. Next up, we have status update from Jepler. No mic, so I'll read. Jeff says, added a new compiler flag to most ports, -W old style definition, and fixed resulting diagnostics. Filed a PR that gets rid of a couple CircuitPy changes by using a newer macro used by MicroPython. Should be no behavioral difference, but I have no hardware to test it while traveling. I've been working on a version of the Unix port that can play audio with SynthIO, etc. on a host computer. This is pushed to my personal GitHub fork. Will not be PR'd anytime soon, probably, but I will add that sounds pretty cool, so I will check that out. And then the last point that Jeff has here is past the halfway point of his Europe trip, sleeping in Malmo, Sweden tonight. Thank you again, Jeff, for stopping by. And that is it for status updates. Next up would be In the Weeds, but we do not currently have any items that are set out for In the Weeds, so I don't think we have anything to discuss there. Which brings us then to the wrap-up. And let me scroll down a bit, but I did go and check and see that we are back at the usual time next week. So we are on Monday next week at the usual time, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. U.S. Eastern. I have still not found my spot. There we go. Okay, so yes, to wrap it up for this meeting, this has been the CircuitPython Weekly for May 27th, 2025. Thanks to everyone who participated. Again, if you would like to support Adafruit and CircuitPython, and those of us that work on CircuitPython, consider purchasing hardware from the Adafruit shop at adafruit.com. The video will be made available on YouTube at youtube.com/Adafruit, and the podcast will be made available on major podcast services. It will also get featured in the Python for Microcontrollers newsletter, which you can visit adafruitdaily.com in order to subscribe to that. The next meeting is on Monday at the usual time, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. The meeting, as always, is held here on the Adafruit Discord, which you can join anytime by going to adafru.it/discord. If you would like to get notified about the meeting and any changes to the day or time, such as when it does get bounced to Tuesdays, you can ask to be added to the CircuitPythonistas role on Discord. We will send out pings to that role anytime that we do change the schedule, and we also try to send out a ping on the day of the meetings an hour or two before so that folks have time to get ready. And that is it for this week. Thanks again to everyone. We hope to see you all next week.